This is the last Devo in this series of Wherever You Go, and I looked up the word encourage in the New Testament, and so many references say to encourage each other in the faith and in sound doctrine. And for the final verse this time in Hebrews 3:13, it says to encourage each other as long as it's called today, so that no hearts will be hardened. So what the heck does that mean, and why does it emphasize today? Just prior to that directive, we're told to see that no one has a sinful, unbelieving heart that turns away from God. And this same chapter and the next one after it keep referring back to the children of Israel. Remember that group of people that wandered around in the desert for 40 years because of unbelief. So perhaps saying as long as it is, quote, today means while you still can. In other words, when the discouraged are left to themselves without encouragement, this hardening of the heart takes place, and a hardened heart is hard to encourage. That's hard to say. A hardened heart is hard to encourage. In one commentary, I read this: faith in the hearer is the life of the word. Faith in the hearer is the life of the word. In other words, there's no encouragement if we don't share our faith. So perhaps we're told here that it's our job and our duty as fellow believers to encourage each other when we observe discouragement taking place. And it's urgent to do it while we can, daily, before deep-seated discouragement turns into unbelief, which turns then into turning away from God. Turning away from the living God, which I think means turning away from an active relationship with the Father. So as we wind up this series on Wherever You Go, we want to be encouraged to be an encourager to others and to seek encouragement when we need it. And we need to do this often and daily. We don't do it by pointing fingers, talking about those that are discouraged, or preaching cliches and platitudes that have always worked for us because we've been so faithful. We do it by sharing our faith. And here are some practical ways that I've either been encouraged or encouraged other people that I thought I would share with you. You can phone or text a friend daily with a thanksgiving. This is a great source of encouragement and gives purpose in finding the good in everyday living. When somebody comes to your mind, you can stop and pray for them and then message them and tell them that you prayed for them. Don't give them an instruction or tear them down, but affirm who He is. If you heard a great song that lifted your spirit, share it with your followers, your friends, or your family. If you experienced an answer to prayer, pass that news along. Don't hold it to yourself, and especially tell your children. Maybe that story in Hebrews and the reference to the children of Israel is a story to remember that if they had encouraged each other instead of bad-mouthing their leaders, throwing up a fist to God, and pining for what used to be, they would have entered the rest God had for them without fearing all of the giants in the land. So maybe it's up to each one of us to encourage each other by holding up weak arms, standing in faith, and by all means sharing and speaking up when we have been encouraged ourselves. I don't want to miss the rest of God, the rest and peace and joy that comes in the middle of trials, by keeping my faith to myself, never asking for help, and closing my doors on the goodness of the living God and trading that away because of discouragement and lack of faith. If I'm reading this passage correctly, we're only given and promised today, not tomorrow, and yesterday is gone. So one of the best things we can do is to seek encouragement and offer it wherever we go. We don't have to conjure up something or come up with formulas to encourage someone. Formulas only work in mathematics and chemistry and not in things of the heart like faith. What does work is the faithful one in sharing His goodness on a daily basis, however we can, with the tools we've been given. I have a friend that she and I started texting each other 3 things a day that we're thankful for. Sometimes we forget and then we get back on track, and each one's a little different. Sometimes we thank God for small things like popcorn, and other days we thank Him for serious things like healing, but we're sharing. And sometimes what she has shared has prompted me to pray for her and vice versa. Some days what we've shared has started a conversation, but every day when I receive her text, it encourages me to stop and take note of what I'm thankful for as well, so that I can text her back. I don't want to lose a single friend on this walk wherever we go by watching them fall away from a relationship with the living God. So wherever we go, let's purpose to make our last words, the ones that we share with our friends, ones of encouragement. Faith is in the hearer of the word, and there is no encouragement if we don't share our faith.